I thank the stars above. I know that we're gonna make it.
It'll take all we got, we gon' make it. Show the world that I shine in our greatness. Keep it real, never gon' fake this. Till we make it, till we make it. Taking off, flying high like a spaceship. Take control, take a shot, what you waiting for? Keep it real, never gon' fake this. Till we make it, till we make it. Second verse, I'm telling you I'm ready to go, letting you know.
Morning everybody, back out in the garage. Just got the truck all backed in. So today's the day. We're gonna get these wheel rings installed on the truck here. So man, it's gonna be a hot day today too. I thought it was supposed to be a little cooler today, so I waited, but pretty warm out right now. So I'm gonna get this knocked out. I don't have a whole lot of time to do this. Got some stuff to do later, so I'm going to start in the back, work my way forward. So I'm going to get these wheels off, and we'll go from there. We'll see what it's going to take. So right now I'm planning on actually taking the brakes apart too, so I can get access to that heat shield that sits behind the rotors there on the front and the back. But I mean, it's literally, I think, 4 bolts and a couple smacks with the old baby sledgehammer. And that drum rotor should slide right off, and we'll have access to it. It'll make it a lot easier to secure the wheel rings. Make it a lot easier to secure the wheel rings. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll set this up, maybe do a time lapse. I'm gonna get the truck jacked up and get the wheel off, and let's see what we got going on. Alright guys, I got the wheel off, I got the brakes pulled apart, you know, the caliper off, the drum rotor off, everything's pulled apart. I kind of sprayed everything down with some brake clean. Get that nastiness out of the way. I'll wipe this off. I'll get this all wiped off. But essentially this is what we're looking at here. I gotta try to set this camera up so y'all can see this. But essentially, which way I want to go? Okay, so the brackets are like this. So they sent these brackets with 1, 2, 3 mounting points on them. So the way I mounted the one, these before, I'm going to try to keep, and I'm trying to do this with one hand, I'm going to try to keep, and there's plenty of room, I've already measured it, I'm going to try to keep the metal, that metal lip right there where my thumb's at, right at that point here, all the way around, and that will square this thing up and make sure that it's perfectly circled there. And this sun is like coming in and killing me here as far as this camera goes, but that's the plan anyway. And basically pretty easy. It makes it somewhat difficult. It's going to make it somewhat difficult to get the bracket and caliper and stuff back on, but this end over here won't be mounted to anything, so you'll have a little bit of wiggle room to move it in and out to get your stuff back together. And then when I mount the cable going up the lines back here, and I'll mount it up to the hard brake line there. So you don't want to squeeze anything on that. It'll hold that back portion secure as well. So the whole thing will be on there and won't move. So basically what they give you to mount these things down is these self tappers, and these will work out just fine. That's what I'll use. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing mounted and just make sure it's pretty centered around the parts there. I don't know, I've seen some done before where they're not centered and they look kind of goofy to me, but we'll get it centered on there. I'll shoot the self tappers in it, and that's about it, man. All right, guys, unfortunately my camera died when I was shooting this, but essentially all I did was drill a very small pilot hole and then shoot the screw through. And I didn't mention this yet, but to keep these screws from backing out, I'm actually going to safety wire them, which is no big deal. So now that I got that top one mounted and they're all sitting basically in the center of this line here is where I got them, to keep them, you know, pretty much even on all sides. I'll do the same. I'm going to drill a small pilot hole here while I'm holding that, and then I'll shoot the screw through it. I'll do the same thing at the bottom, and that'll be it. And then I'll spray some more brake clean in there to get all my little drill bit shavings and stuff out of there. But very simple. Very simple to do, no big deal. I gotta be careful with this little bitty bit. Tiny bit. Just drilling a small pilot hole so I'm not fighting with the self tappers. And I'll show you guys what I mean by safety wiring. So the last thing we want is for this screws to back out. Pretty simple. And I'll shoot a screw into it. Or I'll shoot screw across the garage floor, one or the other. Very simple. That's it. That is it. That's all it takes. So I'm going to repeat that process. I'll get the bottom mounted, and then I'll show you guys what I'm going to do to secure the back once I get the rotor and the caliper and all that stuff back on. That's pretty much it, guys. Brakes are back together. Let me get this figured out here. Grab some zip ties. We're free all the way around. Everything looks good. There's nothing to it. Yeah, I'm gonna move those zip ties. Let me grab some zip ties. I don't like the way that plastic's touching that. So we'll cut those zip ties off and spin them around to the other side. Let's get that out of the way so it's not dragging on the caliper. I'll take my gloves off for this. Fairly easy though, guys. I know the video's starting and stopping, and I've had some other stuff to do, some phone calls, so we're just gonna put that on the outside instead of on the inside like that, so it's not touching. These wheel rings were custom made for me, so they're a lot bigger than your normal wheel rings that you're gonna order, because this is obviously a heavy-duty truck, so it's got bigger everything on it, brakes and the rotors, the calipers, like everything's bigger. So I think these rings are either 17, 18 inch rings. So yeah, I talked to the guys over at FCK Light Bar, and they're the ones that made them for me. Yeah, there we go. Now we don't have nothing touching there. I feel better about that. And this one's actually just holding the line, so I'm gonna get that line in there and get it where I want it. Get that wheel ring where I want it, and then we'll zip tie that back down. That looks pretty good there. I didn't even think about the music playing. I hope I don't get a copyright strike. But that's what you got right there. So we'll run that wire up just like that. Like I said, I'm not gonna put anything on the rubber there. I got it on the hard line. I'll get another zip tie around there, and we're gonna call that done. We'll slap the wheel back on this side. This will hold everything tight. She ain't going nowhere. All right. That's pretty much it. This side's done. Other side's done. We'll get the wheel back on there, and we'll flip this thing around and do the front. Get this thing turned around now, so we can knock this front out. Man, I hope I caught that on camera. I thought I just blew my dry shaft out. Yeah, that's about as close as I'm gonna be able to get. I thought I just blew my dry shaft out as I was turning. I kind of goosed it a little bit, trying to show off for the camera, and my wheel, I forgot I had the block that I had under the front wheel, piece of wood up here, and I hit that and the whole truck jerked. Scared the crap out of me. I thought I just blew the dry shaft out of this thing. Alright, I got this thing turned around now, and I'm gonna get these wheels done, get some jacks underneath this. I should say get these wheels chalked, get some jacks underneath this thing, and get these front tires off. Get this knocked out. Tired of messing with it already. It ain't even been that long. Yeah, both the backs are done now, so let me get this front jacked up. We'll get these front tires off, and we will go from there. All right, cool. I'll be right back. Let me get this thing all set up. All right, guys, got the truck up on jacks here, one on each side. Tires barely off the ground. Everything's broke loose. We're getting ready to yank these off. And just wanted to say, I had the music going in the last one. I don't want to get copyright strike. So, Dirty Max Jack. Hopefully you don't get aggravated at me, man. But I got you playing in the background. As you can see, I'm a pretty big fan here, bud. There's stuff all over my truck. Obviously, got all your merch on. You're an inspiration, brother. I wouldn't be out here doing the stuff that I'm doing if it wasn't for you and watching your videos, man. I just want to throw that out there. I don't know if you'll ever see this or not, but I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you do. I do have one favor to ask, though, because I got crazy hair, and I have just about all your hats. Do me a solid, brother. Do me a solid. Get some more fitted hats in, man, in your different setups. I'll buy them. I'll buy all of them. I don't care. I just like fitted hats a little bit better than I do with the snapbacks. And I had to retire the other two that I had because they're so dirty. I can't even wear them anymore. The wife won't even let me bring them in the house, covered with oil and grease and anything you can think of. So, all right, enough of that. I'm gonna get these tires pulled off here. I'm gonna listen to Jack in the background because I can't stand it being quiet. And we're gonna get this stuff. We're gonna get this stuff knocked out real quick on the front end of this. And I'm getting in on that. $1 equals 1 entry, bud. I'm gonna win one. So on the front here, we got to figure out how we're going to do this, because you have your steering knuckle piece right here. So you got to kind of be either above that, and if we're above that with one, that's going to knock us off the edge over here, or you got to be below it. So same deal with these. We're going to kind of get this centered here as best we can, and we got to have space back here to fill everything back in. So we're going to rotate this enough that this side bracket will actually be underneath where all your steering hooks up, and then make sure we'll have enough for the bottom bracket to grab too, so we can shoot a screw through it, and it'll be mounted at 3 points again. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Yeah, that doesn't have anything behind it. So we can shoot a screw in there, shoot a screw in up here, and then shoot one in off to the side over here. Unfortunately, I snapped my drill bit in half on the back, and I don't have any other smaller drill bits like that. So we're just gonna have to make the self-tapper a self-tapper. So I'm gonna try to get this clamped on here where I want it. And we will shoot some screws into it, and I think that's looking pretty good right there. So let me get my clamp on here. Keeps moving on me. Nope, I gotta get it down on there. There we go. That kind of bent it. The clamp's kind of holding it out. Uh-oh, somebody's shooting. I can hear them. Yeah, I'm just making sure we're catching this thing where we want to catch it. So, let me see the camera. I'm going by these lines here because they're pretty much going to be solid all the way around. So you can see I got that bracket right at the edge of the line there. And this bracket will be right at the edge of that line too. And then that'll pretty much guarantee we're going to be pretty true all the way around, you know, from front to back, top to bottom. And it looks like you got a bigger gap back here, But you got to remember, you know, there's a whole quarter of that plate that's missing, and that's where all your rotor and caliper, I'm sorry, your caliper and your caliper bracket go. So that'll fill that back in. So that's going to be good. And I'm going to shoot some screws in this thing. Plenty of room behind here. And the only hang up, like I said, is this steering connection here where your steering's at. So as long as you're underneath that, here, let me show you that too. So this is what I was worried about. So if that bracket was up into here, you're going to end up drilling through and hitting that, and it wouldn't be good. So I got it set up to where it's going to be underneath it, so it's not going to hurt anything. Not going to hurt anything at all. So yeah, now pretty much we're just down to shooting some screws, some self-tappers through this. Am I going to have enough space behind there? Yeah. And it's that easy. So let me get the wheels back on this thing, and then the next step would just be crawling around underneath it and getting the wires ran. But I don't want to crawl around underneath it while I got the wheels and tires off of it, so I don't feel safe doing that. Not that I don't trust these jacks, but I don't trust these jacks. So let me get the wheels and tires back on, and then we'll jump into the portion of how I'm going to run the wires. All right. So here we are at the fun part. Wheel rings are all installed. Truck's back down on the ground. Obviously the wheels and everything are all back on it. So we got the wheel rings in here. You can see them. They're all installed. We've actually been rolling around on them for a couple of days like that, because I got busy and I didn't have a chance to do the wiring. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to get that knocked out. So this is the wiring harness here. So we got two leads that are going to run to the back. We got the controller here in the center. Obviously this portion is your positive and your ground. That's going to go up underneath my hood. But technically you don't even need the ground to go underneath the hood. You can actually ground that wherever you want on the frame, as long as it's a good ground. It's windier and crap out here, so I'm gonna try to block the window a little bit. But there's the front too. So that's the length of it. So it looks like it's really long when it's laying outside the truck, but after you get in there and start wrapping it around stuff and tucking it and try to hide it, you're gonna use up that length really quick. So I had kind of an idea, and I talked to Dan over at FCKLIGHTBARS. Dan's one of the guys that's been helping me out with all my stuff. I talked to him about this controller here. So instead of having the one line coming out and then breaking all four of it off the one line, and to keep everything like closer to where you're gonna mount this, because obviously you're gonna mount this somewhere where it's not gonna, you know, to keep it as dry and out of the weather and out of the conditions as you can, because it's your electronic controller. And they got these things sealed up really good. I don't know if you've ever looked inside one of these. I have, but it's all the wires are in there, and then they use something and they fill that whole cavity up. It's like rubber in there, so it is pretty locked down as far as you know, being weatherproof or whatnot. So your next weakest link in these is going to be the fittings here, right? 'Cause that's really, I mean, the wire's all covered up. So your next weakest link is going to be there. and there's not really much you can do with that. They do have seals on them. I have shrink wrap that I'll put around these, and I'll do kind of, in aviation terms, what's called a what do we call that now? I'm forgetting. In aviation terms, an environmental splice, right? So I'll make sure this is all covered up really good and sealed from the elements, so you can't get water in there. Bad part is if this isn't long enough, and for all the guys out there that have to run extensions and stuff when you buy these harnesses, now you have more connections that are out, you know, closer into the elements, when if you could have an extension off this to make the wires longer, you keep that stuff up out of the elements and tucked up away underneath the truck. So my idea kind of was, because they make these boxes, so to make it so where you can actually pick up some length, because if you mount this here, I hope you guys can see this, if you mount this sideways like that, then obviously you can have 2 run forward and 2 run back. But if you tuck it up and you're trying to mount it like that, so you got your power wire going forward, what you end up having to do is wrap 2 of these around to run one direction, and then you got 2 the other way, right, front and back. So you're already losing that bit of length just off the controller, right, which makes it more difficult. So if they're making these anyway, why not have 2 come out of the back and 2 come out of the front? I mean, the box could even be a little bit bigger, and you could put the power cord, you know, off to the side, and then that way you can get a good, nice, solid mount on it. And the other good thing about that is, if you're 2 coming off the back, obviously you'd have to have that splice in there like that. If you needed to extend those back however far, you could actually extend this piece and extend both of them back, versus having something out at the end of it extended. That way you can keep it tucked up, you know, and keep it out of the weather, keep it out of the environment, and make it seal it up a little bit better. So that was kind of my idea with that anyway. I don't know if I ever do one or make any boxes like this, that's how I'm gonna do them. So I'm not dealing with stuff like this, trying to flip wires and stuff around, but this is what we got. We'll make it work. They actually gave me Dan sent me some other extensions here. I'll show you, just in case I have to cut anything, and I really do not want to have to cut that factory wire. But instead of sending me regular length extensions, they just sent me some plugs. That way if I have to extend anything, I can extend it where I need it, and then I'll just have to splice the wires together on the inside of it, which is no big deal. I can solder them all up and get the lengths longer and make sure it's a good solid fit. But for people that don't normally do wiring all the time, that can prove to be a little challenging. And it also, after cutting it, it's going to make, you know, that's going to turn into be your weakest link. You know, you're driving around, everything's vibrating, and you know that's something that you don't want unless it's absolutely necessary. So I'm going to try to do it without splicing anything, and hopefully we can get it to go with the length that we got here. So I'm going to get this drug under the truck. I'm actually going to start at the back, get the back 2 hooked up. I'm going to try to keep that control box as close to the center of the truck as I possibly can, you know, up towards the front. That way I have the length. But as I start to run the wires forward, it'll pretty much dictate to me, you know, where that control module is going to get mounted on the truck. All the other lights that I've put on these, I kind of kept it somewhat neutral and in the center, but I put the control box where I wanted it, where it was controlled, where I knew it wasn't going to get a bunch of water in it or even have a chance of you know, being out in the elements. I drive this truck every day, you know, it's not a show truck, if you will, and it has been in water up to you know, the top of the fenders anyway. So yeah, you got to keep that stuff protected anyhow. All right, that's kind of my rant on that. I'm going to start getting this wire ran, and once I get it up there and figured out how I'm going to do it, I'll pop this back on and show you guys what I got. So stand by, we'll get this done. It won't take long. Alright, I'm tired and I'm dirty and my back hurts from rolling around on that creeper. But I'm on the last step here. And I'm hooking this last 2 power wires up. And hopefully this light's not going to overpower it. But here's what the inside of my switch box looks like. It's all relayed and all fused. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff, because it's already all done for you. So this is going to be switch 5 inside the cabin for me on my switch panel, and we are all set. Just got to get the cover back on, and as long as I wired everything right, well, I got some zip ties snipped there. As long as I wired everything right, it should come on. I'll tell you what, this thing has saved me a lot of hassle. It's kind of hard getting this clip back underneath there when I can't see it. But this thing has saved me so much hassle from having to wire switches and do all that type things. Here, I'm moving the camera on. I gotta set this thing down. Just having the switches pre-wired, this box has saved me like so much time on not having to wire switches and all that stuff. And that's it. She is back on. Let me grab my wire cutters and snip that last zip tie where I ran that other wire up there, and we should be golden. We should have wheel ring lights. Where's my snips at? There they are. You can see it got dark on me again like it always does. I don't know why I always wait till the afternoon before I start anything. Probably because I'm used to working midnights and being up all night long, but they've recently moved me back to days, and that has got my system all messed up. So there you go. Make sure I don't have any tools left underneath here. This thing's dirty. I gotta take it and wash it. We've had some rain. We should have power here. I'll do something different with this. Cover back on there, be all right. Yeah, that's sitting right on top of the actual fuse box. You can still pop the fuse box and open it up, but that was the easiest place I could find to put it, and it works good. There's the circuit breaker, the 200 amp circuit breaker for the air horn kit, which is a lot better than having a fuse, if you ask me, because if I ever want to kill the power going back to it, I don't have to take anything apart. I can just hit that button, and that'll stop the compressors and everything from working. So as long as that's up, you got power, you're good. All right, I don't see any tools left. Let me get this hood closed down and get the truck fired up, and we'll see what these wheel lights look like. All right, stand by. Here we go now. All right, we got the wiring all done, and I'm going to show you guys kind of what I did here. Very, very, very hard to hold a camera, run wires, and put zip ties on and do all that. So I didn't get very much video of the wiring being done, but I can show you guys exactly how I ran it. Should be pretty easy here. No big deal. I've been saying that a lot. So there's the wheel ring, there's the wire, and you'll see that I had the pigtail piece of it tied up as I was putting the when I was doing the install on the wheel ring there. That's the connection. It's got shrink wrap and black tape over top of it, and then inside, a lot of people may not do this, I don't know, inside that connection, as I'm knocking everything down here, I always put this dielectric grease, right? So waterproofs your electrical connections, so that thing's sealed up really good. We shouldn't have any kind of moisture or water or anything getting in there. So once I did that, I just ran it along the wires that are already there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Up through the bracket there, up over the top, down the frame rail. So it's running down the frame rail here where all the rest of them. If you look through there, you can't see anything, any wires or anything. But down the frame rail, the control module is about right here. So the rear ones stopped right in here somewhere. And then the front ones came out. And I shot the front one over top of the transmission where all the rest of my stuff from my rock lights went. And then the front ones come down here. They follow that harness down around behind, and hook up right there. So I really doesn't jump out at you at all. Looks like it's the factory stuff in there. So pretty simple. I did end up having to, let me get back in the garage here because this wind's pretty crazy and I want you to be able to hear the audio. I did end up having to extend one lead because instead of running the module itself dead center in the truck, which is damn near impossible to do, I got a fear of that damn thing falling off and getting caught up in my dry shaft. So there's nothing really there to zip tie it to or anything, and I wasn't drilling any more holes underneath my truck. So it's on the left frame, so I had enough to pick up the back two, the left forward one, and where I ran the front one across, I had to extend that one lead less than a foot, maybe 8 inches I think. So it actually, yeah, it fit pretty good. I'm pretty stoked about that. And all I did was take one of their extensions that they sent and just made it longer. So yeah, wires are all done, wired right into my box underneath the hood for my 6 position, my 6 accessory switches. And let me set you guys inside here so you can see. Boom, just like that, we got wheel rings. So I'll do another small, shorter video on all the controls and stuff. Everything's from my rock lights to the wheel rings. It's all the same application. So you gotta kind of switch back and forth between the rock lights and the wheel rings. I'm gonna see if there's a way maybe where I can connect all of them and control all of them with this, you know, the same app at the same time. So if I want to go red, I can go red or blue or whatever. These are the dual chase halos, and I'll show you guys all that stuff. Like I said, I'll shoot a shorter video of that. But every color under the sun. They'll chase forward, they'll chase backwards, they'll flash, they'll blink. Yeah, pretty awesome. Lots of colors, more colors than I'll ever use, I can tell you that. So that's pretty much it. Pretty easy install. Wiring was relatively simple. More so for me, I guess, because I already had a bunch of other wiring ran on the truck, so I just kind of used that and ran these wires down through there with it and just zip tied to everything that I already had secured up. And yeah, it came out pretty good. I'm stoked. So like I said, I'll get some more video of this thing sitting out in the dark where you can see all the different colors and whatnot, and maybe put it on the end of this video, I'm not sure. But at any rate, it's gonna go up on Instagram, and I'll throw it in here somewhere. So that's about it. That's a wrap. Y'all have any questions, you know, put them down in the comments below. I'll get to them, you know, relatively quickly. And again, like I've been saying all my other videos, usually a little bit easier to get a hold of me on Instagram, and that's at workhard Ellswick, work_hard_Ellswick, and you can shoot me a DM over there, and I'll be more than glad to reach out and help anybody if they have any questions or anything. So All in all, so far, I mean, the install was super easy. The rings were set up just right. The lighting, I mean, it seems like my rock lights are brighter, but I haven't played with them a bunch yet. But you can see them from behind too. I mean, they're pretty bright. They're pretty bright. So, works for me. It's exactly what I wanted. So, I'm stoked. All right, guys. If you have any questions, like I said, you know, put them in the comments down below. Give me a like, give me a dislike. You know, it all helps. And I'll catch up with y'all shortly. Appreciate you watching.
I thank the stars above. I know that we're gonna make it.
It'll take all we got, we gon' make it. Show the world that I shine in our greatness. Keep it real, never gon' fake this. Till we make it, till we make it. Taking off, flying high like a spaceship. Take control, take a shot, what you waiting for? Keep it real, never gon' fake this. Till we make it, till we make it. Second verse, I'm telling you I'm ready